My name's Joseph Clark. I'm a plugin developer at Atlassian, amongst a variety of other tasks that I perform. I'm here to talk today about continuous deployment for plugins. And I know this is the last session of the day, so I've just asked Jesse to lock all the doors. So have your undivided attention for the next half an hour. It does seem a bit weird to be introducing myself at the very end of the conference, but this is my favorite slide, so I'm going to do it anyway. In addition to coding, one of my big loves is travel. This is my 4th time in the USA, 3rd time in California, and I love being here. I also enjoy cooking. I think Ryan actually used this photo already, which is one of the risks of having work colleagues on Facebook. I also have a Janai Paladin in Atlassian's World of Warcraft guild. And in case my shirt didn't give it away, I also play a bit of Minecraft as well. And you can see, that doesn't come up very well. That's a Charlie statue built from cobblestone. So I work at the Sydney office in Atlassian. I've been there for nearly 2 years. And I actually didn't start my career in Java. My last job was as a .NET guy. I was doing that up at another Australian company called Technology One, where I grew up in a town called Brisbane. And now I'm still kind of the black sheep of Confluence, so I often find that no one really cares what I'm talking about because they're like, I'm the .NET guy, so whatever. But, you know, it's all not too bad. And now here we are at AtlasCamp having a great time, and it's lovely to meet you all. And I'm glad that I'm here. Because I'm the .NET guy too, I should also just point out that I'm also the guy who does the SharePoint connector. This is just what Google told me. I'm neutral here. So there's probably some SharePoint administrators here, so I apologize. So continuous deployment, what is it? I guess that's kind of a really open-ended question. Sometimes people talk about continuous deployment the way they talk about the cloud. There's a lot of talk about it right now, and I guess specifically what I'm interested in talking about today is the tooling around continuous deployment. So if we want to deploy some product or software automatically, we need some kind of infrastructure to help us do that. So this talk's going to be mostly about kind of how you can get that happening. The continuous aspect of the stuff, I don't really think that's such a big deal. I mean, you don't have to be some kind of super extreme XP agile head deploying every single commit to your system all the time to get benefit from it. As long as, like, if you automate your release process and you deploy once a month, like that's still benefit. It's not really continuous, but you're still, you know, making the most of this kind of approach. As Matt said, in Confluence, we automatically deploy to the Atlassian intranet, and we only do that about once a week, excepting maybe if there's a critical bug, like if something's broken in Chrome, or I think there's like one QA person who uses IE, so if there's an IE bug, we'll deploy again to fix that. There are lots of benefits to continuous deployment, so just because it's a buzzword doesn't mean that there's actually, you know, not some real meat behind it. There are good reasons why you should take some time to sort out your deployment process. The first thing is speed. So one of the big tenets of Agile or XP programming is that if you have some kind of process that's kind of painful or a bottleneck, then you should actually focus on that. You should work hard and do that often so that you get better at it and it reduces the pain that it causes. And I'm sure all of us have good stories about how trying to actually release the damn thing is often the worst bottleneck in the development process. I did a couple of releases of Confluence 3 when I was a bug fix coordinator for Confluence. It was basically a half a day to a day job to get everything up onto Maven and built correctly. Lots of manual steps, going in, checking different things in the right place. Now we're at the point where I think it's kind of one person can do it in a couple of hours. So, you know, that's the kind of thing that everyone can benefit from. Another big thing is cost, and cost not just in financial terms, but also kind of, you know, productivity and time wasted. Particularly, so if you're a commercial plugin developer, you probably want to have some kind of QA server or dog food server, where you're deploying your plugin to test things out. We all kind of agree, the mythical man month, that kind of thing, the longer it takes you to discover a bug, therefore, the longer it takes you to fix it, therefore there's been an increase in the costs in actually finding and fixing that bug. So the quicker you can locate problems, the quicker you can solve them. It's kind of benefits on many different metrics there. So cost is a big benefit. So if you're deploying more often and deploying faster, you've got a better chance of actually detecting problems sooner. It's a kind of a natural progression from continuous integration as well. I guess by now, kind of a lot of people are probably already practicing CI. I hope you've got Bamboo. If you don't, you should try it out. It's pretty awesome. CI, or like one of the big concepts of that, is about keeping kind of your source control in a state where you know it's good to ship. So if you've got a master branch or a stable branch, or if you're just only merging certain things to trunk that you know that are good. So if you've got your source control in that state, then any time between when those changes are committed to when those changes are actually running live on a system, that gap is just total wastage, right? The code is sitting there, good to go, but not doing anything. So taking that CI system and then actually deploying from it is going to really kind of improve your dev speed as well. My favorite benefit, which is something that we've seen a lot at Atlassian as a result of the stuff that we've been doing, is user confidence. Particularly if you're developing a plugin for an internal system. If people are able to tell you about some kind of problem that they're having with a plugin you've written or something like that, and you can kind of like fix the problem on the spot and say, yeah, it'll be fixed tomorrow morning when you log in, and then it actually is, they're going to be so happy with you that you solved their problem. We get it all the time when we were dog fooding Confluence 4. So you think that trying to convince your users that wiki markup has gone is bad or good. Try telling that to a whole bunch of Atlassians. Like there was so much ranting and commenting on Confluence about, I can't do this anymore, this isn't working, this is a bug, this is all crap, we're ruined, we're going to go broke. And then they log in the next day and be like, oh, we've deployed a new milestone, here are the 25 bugs we fixed. And they're like, oh, cool, thank you. And we really converted a lot of people with that approach. If you really want to impress your users, right, a lot of us have like fairly negative connotations about people in IT. Some of them might think you're a guy in your underwear or just doing doodles with liquid paper on a computer screen. If you can kind of use this approach to actually kind of enable them to get their stuff done, hopefully you can kind of change some of this image around, and instead they're actually going to be really happy with you. So that's kind of my favorite benefit from continuous deployment. So getting started, the first thing is that continuous deployment is really difficult. Matt was talking about how we do it in Confluence. There's caching involved. We've got to spin up a separate instance of Confluence and like swap the sessions over seamlessly so there's no downtime. The good news for us, though, is that because we're plugin developers, the hard work's already done. Right? We've got this plugin framework built into our applications that is already able to seamlessly upgrade a plugin from one version to another with no downtime. So really, the only thing that's left to do is actually just kind of automate the installing of the plugin into the system. So the first thing is that you probably want to have a plugins to plugin. Unless you're running Confluence, which can automatically reload plugins 1 plugins because it's more awesome than all the other products. Plugins 1 is not going to work. You're not going to be able to install that seamlessly. So getting to plugins 2 is the first point. Secondly, you need to identify where you're going to deploy to. If you're, so as I said, if you're a commercial developer, maybe some kind of staging dog food server. If you're an internal plugin developer, you probably want to be going to maybe some kind of staging or test environment. You might have difficulty convincing people that it's safe to deploy straight to your production system, but you could get there eventually. All right, and the big thing is some kind of automation, right? There needs to be like some trigger that sets it off, like maybe when there's a source control build from source control, or it could be just a big red button that you push occasionally. And yeah, you need to think about how often you want to do that. And as I said, don't think that you suddenly need to like deploy every commit. Just get started, start with something simple, do it once a week or once a month. Even just follow your normal release process. Like if you only release once every 98 days or something, then just automate the process and then go from there, reducing the time down if you think there's benefit in it. So here's a simple example of automation. this is just a curl script that hits up the upload plugin action in Confluence, and it passes in a whole bunch of headers and other guff that makes it work. The key thing is just that bottom line. It posts a multi-part form, and it sets the file part to be a jar file. So you just need to pass in a path to your jar file there. I am certain this works. I haven't tested it. I know because I got this from a Studio developer, and this is what they use to install their plugins in Studio. So if it doesn't work, I know who to talk to. So you could just take this and put it in a cron job or a bash script, something like that. Personally, I think Bamboo is kind of a better way to do it, because then you don't have to use bash, which I'm a Windows developer, so I think that's a plus. So this is how we can get fancy with Bamboo. So in your Bamboo system, you've probably got some kind of task that builds your plugin, or some kind of compile task there. Then in Bamboo, we have this concept of artifacts. Artifacts are things that you can go into Bamboo and configure as a way to capture the output from a build step and then redirect that artifact, that output, to somewhere else. That way you can kind of pass things around between the builds. So for example, in this case, we want to compile the plugin in one task, then actually get that jar file off the disk, off the agent, and then run another job to deploy it. And that could be on a different agent or a different system. So we need to be able to transfer that data somehow. So we can configure that, and then we need some kind of deployment task that's going to take that jar file and deploy it off to Confluence or Jira. So what I'm going to demo is kind of this magic bit around the deploy task. It's kind of a bit sparkly and awesome. In fact, I'm going to give it a double rainbow. So, a demo. This is a plugin that I have just released to Pack this week, the Bamboo Continuous Deployment plugin. And what it does is it allows you to configure it to accept an artifact that's a jar file, and then it will go and deploy it in a Confluence or Jira instance. So the source is there. The source is not public just yet, because I'm still going through the paperwork, but it will be public eventually, and you'll be able to access it at that URL. Okay. It's a video, I'm sorry. I really wanted to do it live, but my laptop only has 1 gig of RAM, or 2. I can't run, more than one Atlassian application on it. Yeah, you know what I mean. Okay, so here's a Confluence instance, Confluence 4. I'm going to make sure, yes, it's playing, cool. Confluence admin, all right, I've got a plugin installed there, which I'll show you. I've got a cake macro there, 1.0 snapshot, that's cool, so that's just there already. And I'm going to go and use this cake macro to see what it does. So I'm going to render that. So a little placeholder, it just shows a picture of a cake. All right, we've already got a cheese macro, so I stuck with cake. And you can see it's just got the default macro placeholder there. It's just a little box with the name of the macro there. So I want to jazz that up a bit. So I'm just going to roll forward my source control to some other changes I've made previously. And then I'm going to kick off a Bamboo build to actually compile and deploy those changes. So you can see this is my Bamboo plan. I've got 2 stages, a compilation station and stage, and then a deployment stage. In the compilation, all right, it's pretty simple. It's just a Maven task, and I'm calling out to Maven to just do a package of the jar file. And then in the artifact section, when I click on it, yes, that one. Okay, I've configured an artifact there, a plugin jar. I just said which directory it's in, a file name pattern, and that means that whenever this build runs, it's going to take that file and store it in Bamboo. In my deployment stage, I've then gone and created a dependency on that, which means that that artifact will be available to all the tasks. Here's my deploy task. So it's just added into this browse menu there. And in the configuration, you just point it at the jar file, and then a base URL, sysadmin username and password, and it's kind of ready to go. So it's pretty basic. The Tasks API, I've used it a few times now. It's pretty awesome. So you can see now that job's been successful. And if you go and have a look at this compilation stage, it has actually saved the artifact there, and I can access it through the UI if I want to. Back in Confluence now, you can see in the editor, I've changed it to use the custom macro image placeholder that Ryan demonstrated yesterday. So now it actually renders the full cake image in the editor. which might be useful if you really like cake. And just to prove that that all actually was real, you can see that the cake macro has been upgraded to version 1.0 now, so it did actually install a new version of the plugin into that system. So that plugin there, it's compatible with Confluence and Jira at this stage. I'm going to work on adding in support for Fisheye and Crucible, and now that Bamboo's got plugins too, plugins have a crack with Bamboo as well, so that you can use a plugin in Bamboo to continuously deploy a plugin to Bamboo. Just to prove that I'm not like totally bullcrapping you, this is a screenshot of our Confluence build server. Set this up for Team Calendars, our new plugin for Confluence. This is actually where this inception for this whole plugin came from. The Team Calendars project is actually developed by some guys in Malaysia, some customware guys. And, they work with our product manager Sharif to work on that. So we've got a bit of a time zone split there, which can be problematic, and we were really having problems kind of getting changes to test them out. Sharif would have to kind of IM David or send him an email and say, hey, I see you've committed this, can I check it out and have a look at it? So David would have to build a milestone with the Maven release plugin and deploy that to Maven, and then Sharif would have to go and get the link to that and then raise a Jira ticket for our IT team to go and install that in our staging server, and then once it was okay, it could go into the production system. So the whole turnaround time from start to finish was like half a day, which is pretty horrible. So I told Sharif I could automate this, so he built this plugin, and he tells me now that it's really useful. He's shaking his head, but he's lying.
I don't have a job anymore.
So he can basically see the changes live. So this is actually deploying on every commit from the Team Calendars trunk onto our dog food server, CDog, so we can check it out whenever we feel like it. So the other big thing about continuous deployment is that you want to be able to get feedback from your users, right? There's no point getting this, getting your plugin into this system if you're not going to make it easy for people to tell you if something's gone wrong. The big thing is that it actually takes a certain kind of person to even bother giving you feedback in the first place. For example, there's not a lot of Windows users here, but I'm sure you've all used Microsoft Word at least once in your lifetime, and it's probably crashed on you, and it's come up with that little thing that says, do you want to send that error report to Microsoft? And I'm one of those people that just says no all the time. I don't care. Like, it's not my problem that your thing crashed on me, so I'm not going to even bother giving you feedback. So if you don't make that really easy for people, they're just not going to bother to do it, or if they do, it's not going to be useful. So this is actually kind of the other half of this whole scenario, right? Getting it continuously deployed is one thing, but then getting the most out of it is making it easy for people to give you feedback about it. This is something we've been doing quite a lot at Atlassian recently. The best thing is that you can pretty much do it in a plugin, which you're all familiar with, so that's one step done. This is the extranet. It's got a little button up the top there with a Charlie saying got feedback. This was a plugin that Sharif wrote for the Confluence EAP program. So if you downloaded the EAP, you probably saw this and maybe you provided some feedback. So thank you. And Sharif is a product manager, right? So he's not a developer. If he can write this plugin, I'm fairly confident I can show you guys how to do it too. Here's some other screenshots, some other systems we've got running. So the top one is JDog, our dog food Jira instance. Got a feedback button up there at the top as well. And then the bottom one is our Confluence Bamboo server. And you can see it's got a slightly different button up the top there from our build engineering team. This is actually the Jira issue collector, which was developed as a 20% project by one of our Jira developers. The cool thing about that button is that when you click on it, it pops up a dialog, you type it all in. Then when you hit submit, it actually goes and creates a Jira issue behind the scenes. The got feedback button that we're using in Confluence just sent an email to a shared inbox that we could all see. So really, it was a time saver for the user, but it wasn't a time saver for us, because basically it just transferred the burden of creating the Jira issue to the developers, which is a positive user experience for the users, but it really became a drag when we were dogfooding on Confluence on our intranet, and our product managers come in the morning and there'd be like 60 emails that they have to go through and triage and raise Jira issues for. So the Jira issue collector can like really speed up that process. This is another one that the build engineering team have done. On the bottom left, that big red button there, you probably can't read the text. It says report infrastructure problem. So this is this cool thing that they've done where if you're a developer logged into Bamboo and you see that a build has failed, so you probably got a notification, so you had to log in and go and check if the build was broken because of your commit. So you log in, you have a look at it, you actually know actually the agent just had a cow and died, or there was a connectivity issue, or Maven respond, it was a timeout. So that's what this red button is for. You click that and that just does a little a post and flags this build to the build engineering team as a build that requires their investigation rather than developer investigation. And that really speeds up that channel of communication where instead of me having to stand up from my desk and walk over to the build engineer and say, hey, look at this build, here's the link. Instead, that process is now completely automated. Oh, wrong way. Okay, so a demo. I'm going to show you the Jira issue collector. If I can. So I've got my cake macro now, and what I want to do is add a handler to it so that when I click on it, I can provide some feedback. So I've installed the issue collector plugin into Jira, and I'm going to add a new issue collector definition. So I've just got to give it a name, and you can see I can select a project that it relates to and the issue type I want it to create. And I'll also type in a description. Down the bottom you can see there's a bunch of triggers there where I can select where I want the button to appear on the app. So it doesn't have to be an Atlassian app, this will work with anything. You can choose to put the button at the top or the right. In this case I want to put it in a custom location, so basically I want to take control of the user experience. And it just gives me the ability to type in some custom JavaScript. Do there. It's pretty basic. All I'm doing is using jQuery to find the cake macro on the page, and then I'm going to set a tooltip and a click handler for it, so that when the user clicks on it, the issue collector gets invoked. And you can customize the feedback form there as well. So all that will do now is give me like a big chunk of JavaScript, and you just take that and put it in the host application. You could do this as a web resource and a plugin if you don't have kind of sysadmin access to kind of customize the Confluence HTML. In this case, just because it's easier to demo, I'm just putting the JavaScript into the custom header of Confluence. So now if I go back into my page and look at my macro, I should get a little hover. And when I click on it, I get a little OWI dialog or a lightbox. And I can provide some feedback to the developers. And when I submit that, it will go and create a Jira issue. It also allows me to attach a screenshot there too. Cool. So if I go and log into Jira now, I should be able to see that issue just got created. Ta-da! There it is. Do you see it also captures a bunch of environment information? So it's got the user agent and the location where it happened, which is kind of useful as well. We did that as well with the Confluence EAP feedback plugin, and that was really helpful too, because often this kind of bugs that people were experiencing were only on certain pages with certain content on them. So it was quite common for users to kind of forget that information when they reported it. So using that information and capturing that automatically was really helpful. Oh, I've got another demo too, sorry. So, okay, maybe you're not using Jira, right, but you still want to exit out of the screen. There we go. But you still want to have some kind of automatic feedback mechanism. So what you can do is use something simple like an online survey tool. For the EAP feedback plugin, we were just using Wufoo. It's an online form builder with like a freemium model, so you can just set up a basic free account and then set up that dialog so that instead of posting to Jira, it just posts, it just loads the Wufoo form in an iframe, and then you can configure Wufoo to email you or something like that. So if you're not using Jira, this is a way to kind of achieve almost the same effect for the user. You just get an email instead. So this is what the form looks like. So I've just got a basic email and text area. If you look at the editor, there's like a whole bunch of crazy stuff you can build on there, etc. And what we need to do is just grab, there's like a tiny URL that it generates for the form. So we just need to grab that URL and then paste it into our plugin. And And you can see when I load that URL in the browser, it just shows the form ready to submit. So I've got my IDE here. So this is some JavaScript and CSS to kind of load that form appropriately. It's just a web resource in my plugin. All this code I've put up on developer.atlassian.com, so you can check it out later if you're interested. It's basically doing the same thing as the last one, finding the cake macro, just adding a click handler onto it that pops up an AOE dialog with that form embedded in it as an iframe. So I'm just going to package and install that now. You can see in the Atlassian plugin. All right, so it's just a web resource definition like that, pretty easy. It takes, as Matt said, it takes like 5 seconds to like grab that XML template and put that in there. The longest thing is actually waiting for AMPS to do its job. Cool. Done. Okay, so now I'm going to reload the macro again. I've already taken out the custom JavaScript from the header for the issue collector. And now you can see I get the same experience. I can click on it. I can load up a feedback form, type in everything I want, and submit it. And as a user, that's kind of one step of not having to tab out of my current session to go in some other system to do something. It's just that one extra little step that they don't have to do. So they're just that one step more likely to actually bother to give you some feedback. And we can definitely, oh, there we go, there's the email come through. We definitely had a big change in the amount of feedback we were getting for Confluence 4 from other Atlassians. You know, we had a Jira project where they could raise issues and we would triage them promptly. But the minute we added something that was built into the application, the amount of feedback we were getting just skyrocketed. And lots of like really valid bug reports or improvement requests, and even more useful things like I want to do this on a page, and I couldn't figure out how to do that easily. I had to kind of fiddle around a bit to find the menu item. So we were then able to kind of fiddle things around a bit and make things more intuitive for users. So as I said, all this is up on the new developer portal, slides and those demos, and links to the two plugins, the Bamboo Continuous Deployment plugin and the Jira Issue Collector. So they're up there. They're both ready to try out now. The version of the Bamboo plugin that I have on pack right now only works with Confluence, but I do have a version ready to go that supports Jira, which I will upload when I get back to the office next week. If you want to contact me, I'm on Twitter, JC, is my email address. You can also get in touch with me on Atlassian Answers. I'm fairly active on there. I just hit the 1.5K karma mark, but I don't know if I'm getting a t-shirt. So the other thing to point out is that Ryan mentioned this in his talk, taking over from Ryan as the ecosystem liaison for Confluence. So please, if you're a plugin developer, get in touch with me. Let me know kind of any bugs that are really killing you, or any kind of new plugin points that would really help you out. We're really interested to hear from you. So please feel free to get in contact with me. So basically, if I can just summarize, right, it's the two things. The first step is getting the continuous deployment, right? That's going to speed things up, save you time and money. And the second thing is actually setting up some kind of feedback mechanism, because that's how you really make the plugin great, by making it easy for people to give you feedback in a real use case. And the fact that Bamboo and Jira make that really easy is for the win. So that's all I have. So hit me with some questions if you've got some. Yes? Well, I mean, I will do my best to support it. I haven't spoken to Jens yet about actually kind of getting that into Bamboo. I think he was kind of interested in it, so I plan to chat to them and see if we can get it supported, yeah. So at this stage, no, but you can email me and I'll fix any problems you find. Anything else? No? Cool. Wow, we finished early. Early mark for all of us. Thanks very much.